Hey, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining. My name is Matthew. Today, we are going to continue looking at Bitcoin network-wide miner revenue over a trailing 12-month period, and we're going to look at it in USD terms. So as mentioned, this is going to be in dollar terms, solely in US dollar terms for Bitcoin total miner revenue. If you want to look at it in Bitcoin terms, do see my prior video on that. And also, we've broken these down separately, right? We've looked at fees individually on a trailing 12-month basis. You see these desert buttes here that happened trailing 12 months. So you catch, into 2018, you catch all of 2017's fee pressure, same as 2020, 2021. And we've looked at Bitcoin issuance separately in dollar terms. Obviously, just as it is the case, if you look at this in Bitcoin terms, fee revenue, that is transaction fees that Bitcoin users pay to get their transactions into the next block, on a trailing 12-month basis is far, far in the minority compared to new Bitcoins that are issued every 10 minutes via the protocol. And that's what you see on the right axis here, the issuance component. You see way back here at the beginning. And again, I start my dollar data from Bitcoin Pizza Day, May 22nd, 2010. So I don't catch a trailing 12-month revenue period in dollar terms till a full year after that, May 21st, 2011. And you see Bitcoin issuance, that is what miners were fighting for. These were millions of Bitcoins at this point in Bitcoin terms. But in dollar terms, based on the price, every day over the last 12 months, ending May 21st, 2011, $3 million. $3 million in revenue. That's what Bitcoin miners were fighting for at the time. And fees, they rounded to 0 million. The left axis is in million here. They weren't nothing, but in dollar terms, they rounded to 0 million. They didn't, let's see when it first comes here. It rounds to 1 million in the 2013 boom. So mid-2013 is the first time you see in dollar terms over a trailing 12-month period that you get $1 million worth of fees settled on the Bitcoin network. And then we go up and up. But fees, for as much as they were a part of the block war debate, which really started 2012, 2013, probably even make the case even earlier than that, based on some forums and threads on Bitcoin Talk, we see that there are really only two periods of fee pressure in the Bitcoin network. As I just showed you, after all of the conclusion of the block size war, remember, trailing 12-month basis here. SegWit was activated summer of 2017. There was the Bitcoin Cash hard fork and many other forks of Bitcoin, to where Bitcoin itself did have a lot of fee pressure, and there was a lot of FUD, and there was a lot of worries. But the vast, overwhelming majority of nodes, for them, the decision was clear on the direction that Bitcoin was going to take. And the UASF activating SegWit, we see resolved a lot of that. And really it was resolved at this point in summer of 2017. But again, for economic, accounting, financial purposes, it's so much better and clearer to look at things on a trailing 12-month basis. So we see it took a full year basically for that to be factored in. And fees, they did rise still on a trailing 12-month basis. You're at, let's say 50, 60 million after the highs of 775 million in fees at the end of 2017. And then they continue to rise again all the way until, of course, COVID and meme stock trading and all the rest we've talked about many, many times here. The next boom here in 2021, 2022, fees went over $1 billion. To where now, remember the video that we did on percentile bands, we're under a 2 sigma level here. We're outside of 95% of the observations, really 97.5% of observations on how low these are in dollar terms, only $135 million in fees. Whereas if you look at issuance is down as well. but it's only about a 1 sigma down move, meaning it's outside of 2/3 of the time we're seeing how low that is. And what is that today? $8.4 billion. And where was it at its all-time high? We can see here, 15 and a half. Does it hit 16? Almost. $15.9 billion. Trailing 12 months, February 16th, 2022. All right, so that's most of 2021's data. And Bitcoin fees at the time were about $827 million equivalent. So as a factor of 1, or as how much the issuance is a component of the pie here, we can see here, issuance was only 90%. And here, in dollar terms, it went down to about 82%. So pretty close to what we saw in the last video with Bitcoin terms. In Bitcoin terms, it went down to 86%, was the low of the issuance component, meaning a high of the fees component of the pie, the dark area, the black area here. But pretty similar percentile trends there you can see. As far as how much of the pie fees made up, but it's a little bit different. It's interesting to see it in dollar terms. The growth is different. Obviously, Bitcoins are going down, but dollars still, and we saw this with the trend line, the trend is going up. In dollar terms, the trend is up, and definitely see those videos for a little bit more on that. And we're at, historical lows based on the trend line. 2 sigma down for fees, 1 sigma down for issuance. So this is how it is in dollar terms. Quite simple. It's interesting to see, I think, if you just go back to, the 2013 booms and just look at that, how much miners were fighting for on a trailing 12-month basis here. Basically, 0 million in fees. Fees rounded to $0 million. And issuance was 20 million, 20, 30 million. On a trailing 12-month basis. And then once you go to the boom, okay, we get close to $1 billion. Remember, 1,000 million is $1 billion. You get close to $1 billion total. And again, the vast majority is issuance here, new coins, the block reward, 860 million. And then you fall again during that crypto winter until the 2017 boom. But the general trend for sure is up. 90% plus R squared up on a power regression. We'll continue to dissect that with Bitcoin and many other markets, power regressions, exponential regressions, so on and so forth. But the trend is up. And the last thing I just want to leave you with is, if you look at, let's zoom in to say the last 2 years or so, 15 billion would be the max. Now, actually, if you add the fees, of course, 17 billion roughly would be the max trailing 12-month fees if miners earned their Bitcoin and sold their Bitcoin every day, all of it, for the dollar price prevailing at that time on that day over a trailing 12-month period, $17 billion. And now, if you come till today, period ending March 4th, trailing 12 months, $8 billion, $8.5 billion, including fees. So we've fallen in half from where we were just a little over a year ago. And where does that compare to other industries? And we will dissect this as well. I think this is very interesting, important just to see how nascent we still are in the Bitcoin industry. The gold industry is roughly a $200 billion industry. $200 billion of ounces worth of gold comes out of the ground every year. That's not necessarily total miner revenue. Of course, there are recycled gold that comes online as well, so it's even higher from that perspective. But as far as just new ounces coming out of the ground in the gold industry over a trailing 12-month period, roughly $200 billion. Oil, trillion plus. Oil is a $1 trillion industry, at least, as far as trailing 12-month gross revenue goes. Is that the take-home for all the companies? No. They have expenses to deal with. They have share buybacks that they want to do. They have many, they have bailouts they want to receive. They have many things they want to deal with, and they get to deal with as their entrenched positions in the industry, of course, the various industries. Sorry for the little tongue-in-cheek there, but, it's Monday. And the Bitcoin industry, we can see, is just nascent, very nascent. 15, 16, 17 billion at the top. Now half of that, 8, 9 billion. Gold is 200 billion. Oil, trillions. You add in all the other elements and resources and some other precious metals. I mean, you're getting hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars worth of industry gross revenue on a trailing 12-month basis for established, entrenched industries. The Bitcoin nascent industry went from being a couple million, rounding to 0 million in fees, 20 million, not even 10 years ago, to being $8-10 billion today. So that's the trend. That's where we've been. And I hope you stick with me to see where we're going to go in future videos. Thanks a lot for watching this. Take care.